Imagine this. You think you know a man, you've watched him grow up on your TV, you've seen him play the lovable son, the poetic activist, the guy who somehow dodged every tabloid bullet, and then boom, his wife stumbles upon a secret video that flips the entire story upside down. Yes, you heard that right. Malcolm-Jamal Warner's wife has allegedly uncovered a hidden video. And what he said in it? Devastating. Like, grab your snacks and clutch your pearls, devastating. But here's the kicker. Why was this video hidden in the first place? Who didn't want us to see it? And how is it possible that a man so careful, so protective of his image, left behind something this explosive? I mean, seriously, was this a confession? A warning? Or the ultimate mic drop that Hollywood never wanted you to hear? Stay with me, because once you hear the whispers, the leaked transcripts, and the jaw-dropping clues connected to this tape, you'll never look at Malcolm-Jamal Warner, or the people around him, the same way again. So what did he really say? And more importantly, who's shaking in their boots now that it's out? When the world thinks of Malcolm-Jamal Warner, the image that usually comes to mind is one of a polished Hollywood star. A man who grew up in the spotlight and managed to transition into adulthood with grace, talent, and respect. From his unforgettable role as Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show to his acclaimed performances on stage and screen, Warner carved out a career that was both admirable and inspiring. But behind the flashing cameras, the award-winning performances, and the carefully managed interviews, there was another story unfolding. A private story, a secret story, and it's this story that has now shaken not only his wife, but the entire entertainment world to its core. Just days ago, a shocking revelation came to light when Warner's wife allegedly stumbled upon a video file that was hidden away, a file that contained Malcolm-Jamal's private words, thoughts, and confessions. It wasn't meant for public consumption, and it certainly wasn't meant to go viral. But when she pressed play, what she heard left her reeling. Because in that video, Warner didn't just talk. He revealed truths so raw, so personal, that they have completely rewritten the way people see him. Let's rewind for a moment. For decades, Warner was celebrated as one of those rare child stars who didn't crash and burn. He avoided the scandals, the rehab stints, the embarrassing mugshots that seemed to plague so many of his peers. Instead, he built a reputation as thoughtful, disciplined, and intelligent. He stayed relevant in Hollywood without ever becoming a tabloid fixture. To the public eye, he had it all: career stability, financial success, and most importantly, love. His marriage was often praised as one of the few Hollywood unions that seemed solid. But what his wife found in that video makes it clear: appearances were deceiving. According to sources close to the family, Warner recorded the video during a particularly vulnerable period in his life. It wasn't staged, it wasn't scripted, and it wasn't polished for an audience. This was Malcolm-Jamal speaking directly to the camera, almost as if he knew that one day, these words might be discovered. His tone wasn't that of a TV star delivering lines. It was the trembling, weary tone of a man who had carried secrets for far too long. In the video, Warner reportedly opened up about struggles that he had never made public. Struggles with fame, struggles with identity, and struggles within his marriage. While he never outright declared that his relationship was broken, he did drop hints, subtle but powerful hints, that things behind closed doors were far from picture perfect. He spoke about pressure to live up to the image of Theo Huxtable, pressure to always be the strong one, the dependable one, the success story. And most devastatingly, he spoke about loneliness. Imagine hearing the man you thought you knew best confess that he often felt like a stranger in his own home. That even with love surrounding him, he sometimes felt utterly alone. Warner's wife, according to insiders, was stunned. She had no idea that her husband had carried such heavy emotional weight. And in the video, he didn't just confess these feelings, he also hinted at mistakes, regrets, and choices that haunted him. One of the most shocking elements of the video was Warner's reflection on his career. While fans always believed that Malcolm-Jamal was grateful for the opportunities The Cosby Show gave him, in the video, he reportedly admitted that the role also became a prison. Being Theo was both a blessing and a curse. Everywhere he went, people expected him to be that funny, lovable, easygoing character. But Warner was more complex than that. And the constant comparison, the endless "Where's Theo now?" headlines, the weight of being a symbol of black excellence in Hollywood, it wore him down in ways no one ever suspected. Warner's words weren't bitter, they were heart-wrenchingly honest. He talked about how success can sometimes feel like a gilded cage. You're admired, you're celebrated, but you're also trapped by the very image that made you famous. And when you're trapped, you start making decisions, sometimes reckless, sometimes desperate, just to feel free. Did Warner allude to personal mistakes in his marriage? Some say yes. While he didn't name names or spell out details, his language strongly suggested that there were chapters in his life that he deeply regretted. And that's where the devastation truly comes in. Because when Warner's wife heard those words, she wasn't just listening to her husband. She was hearing the voice of a man who had silently suffered, who had concealed pain, and who had possibly kept secrets from her. Imagine being in her position, discovering a hidden recording where the man you love admits to battles you never even knew he was fighting. That's not just shocking, that's life-altering. But the video didn't stop there. Warner also spoke about the darker side of Hollywood. He hinted at betrayals, at backroom deals, at friendships that were never truly friendships. He described the entertainment industry as a machine that eats you alive if you let it, and confessed that there were moments he considered walking away from it all. In one chilling portion of the video, he even said, "If people knew half of what really goes on in this business, they wouldn't envy us. They'd pity us." For fans, these revelations are jaw-dropping. For his wife, they're devastating. Because if the man she shared her life with could hide this much pain, what else might he have hidden? And perhaps even more haunting, why didn't he feel safe enough to share it with her while he was alive? The discovery of this video has now raised countless questions. What else is hidden in Warner's private archives? Was this his only confession, or are there more recordings waiting to be uncovered? And perhaps the most pressing question of all, why did he record it in the first place? Was it meant to be a farewell, a cry for help, or a message to be discovered after he was gone? As whispers spread through Hollywood, insiders say Warner's wife is torn between grief and anger. On one hand, she's mourning the depth of pain her husband carried. On the other, she's grappling with the fact that he chose to confide in a camera rather than in her. That duality, love mixed with betrayal, is what makes this revelation so powerful and so tragic. And this, right here, is where the story takes an even darker turn. Because while the video gave Warner's wife a glimpse into his private pain, it also contained something she never expected, a direct message. Toward the end of the recording, Warner looked straight into the camera and spoke words that were impossible to misinterpret, words that were clearly meant for her. And those words, they've left her shattered. The moment that secret video clip ended, silence filled the room. You could almost hear the walls breathing. For Malcolm-Jamal Warner's wife, it wasn't just the discovery of hidden words, it was the crushing weight of realizing that the man she loved, trusted, and built a life with had been hiding something that completely shifted her reality. And the craziest part, what he revealed in that video was so personal, so raw, and so painfully honest. It left her torn between heartbreak and shock. Now, let's take a step back here. People know Malcolm-Jamal Warner as the once beloved TV son from The Cosby Show. He grew up in front of millions of viewers, built a career in Hollywood, and carried himself with a kind of quiet dignity. Unlike many celebrities, he wasn't constantly in the tabloids. He kept his business private. But what this hidden video revealed proved that even the most private lives can hold the darkest secrets. So what exactly was in the recording? Well, here's where things get chilling. Malcolm, sitting alone in what looked like his study, leaned forward into the camera and started confessing. Not just about his fears, but about mistakes, regrets, and choices he had made that he never wanted the world, or even his own family, to know about. He spoke about how fame had chewed him up and spit him out. He talked about the pressures of being a child star, about the weight of constantly being compared to others, and the crippling loneliness that came with pretending everything was fine when in reality it wasn't. He admitted to moments of depression, so deep he thought he wouldn't survive them. And then he went further. He brought up relationships, and not just the ones that made headlines. He mentioned a past romance, one that never went public, but one that he admitted left scars so deep he carried them into his marriage. He talked about mistakes he made, about betrayal, about not always being the man people thought he was. And as his wife listened to these words from beyond the grave, she realized that this wasn't just a confession, it was an apology. But let's be real here, an apology discovered after death? That cuts differently. Because it's not a conversation. It's not something you can respond to. It's a message frozen in time, one-sided, leaving the person who hears it with nothing but unanswered questions. And for his wife, that pain was unbearable. Now imagine this. The world is looking at her, expecting her to carry on as the grieving widow with grace. But behind closed doors, she's replaying that video over and over again, trying to decode every sentence, every pause, every sigh. Was Malcolm trying to warn her? Was he trying to prepare her? Or was this just his way of unburdening himself before it was too late? And here's where it gets even more shocking. In that same video, Malcolm dropped a name that immediately sparked whispers in Hollywood circles. It wasn't just an ex. It was someone still very much active in the industry. Someone whose connection to Malcolm had been buried for decades. Suddenly, speculation ran wild. Did this person know? Were they part of the reason he recorded this confession? And if so, what did that mean for his wife, who had just stumbled into the middle of a secret triangle she never asked to be part of? But let's pause for a second, because this isn't just about scandal. This is about the human side of it all. Malcolm's wife wasn't just a celebrity's partner. She was a woman blindsided by grief and revelation at the same time. To lose a husband is one kind of pain. To lose him, and then discover he had a whole layer of truth he never shared, that's trauma on another level. Think about it. Everything she thought she knew about their marriage suddenly had cracks. Every anniversary, every holiday, every late-night conversation, all of it was now being re-examined in the harsh light of his confession. And the worst part, she couldn't ask him why. She couldn't sit across from him and demand answers. All she had was that one recording. As the days went by, the secret video became both her curse and her lifeline. She hated it, yet she couldn't let it go. She told close friends that hearing his voice felt like he was still with her, but at the same time, the content of what he was saying broke her heart every single time. It was like reopening a wound that refused to heal. And the public had no idea. To them, Malcolm-Jamal Warner's passing was tragic but private. What they didn't know was that his wife was sitting on a bombshell so heavy, it could rewrite everything people thought they knew about him. And here's the twist. Some insiders claim that she's debating whether or not to release parts of the video. If she does, it could shake Hollywood to its core. If she doesn't, she'll carry this burden alone forever. So here's the question. Should she share Malcolm's secret words with the world, or keep them locked away as something only she was meant to hear? On one hand, it could clear the air, set the record straight, and maybe even help her heal. On the other hand, it could destroy reputations, hurt people still alive, and turn Malcolm's legacy into a circus. And this is where the story gets even messier. Reports have surfaced that others close to Malcolm already know about the video. Rumors are swirling that someone may have made a copy. If that's true, it's only a matter of time before the media gets their hands on it. Imagine the headlines. Malcolm-Jamal Warner's secret confession leaked. The internet would explode. But here's the thing. Beyond the gossip, beyond the speculation, this story forces us to face a brutal reality. How much do we really know about the people we love? How many secrets do they carry silently, never sharing, until it's too late? And when those secrets finally come out, do they bring closure or chaos? Malcolm's wife is stuck right in the middle of that storm. A storm she never asked for, never saw coming, but now has to weather whether she likes it or not. And as she sits with this devastating discovery, the world continues to turn, blissfully unaware of just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Because here's the truth. That secret video wasn't just one message. There were more. And in those next recordings, Malcolm revealed even darker truths, ones that would leave not just his wife, but the entire industry reeling. And that is where things take a turn you won't believe. The weight of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's words lingered like smoke in a closed room, heavy, suffocating, and impossible to escape. His wife sat frozen, her hands trembling as she replayed the final minutes of the video again and again, almost punishing herself with each repeat. Each word felt like a knife, sharp, intentional, and meant to cut through time to reach her now. But here was the haunting truth. These were not words spoken to her. They were words recorded in secrecy, intended for a future he wasn't even sure he'd live to see. The devastation in that moment wasn't just about what he said, but how he said it. His voice carried both love and regret. A man torn between the legacy he wanted to leave behind and the mistakes that followed him like shadows. In the video, Malcolm revealed things that stunned even those closest to him. He spoke about betrayal, not of others betraying him, but of him betraying his own heart, his own purpose. "I spent too much time pretending," he confessed, his voice cracking. "Pretending I was okay. Pretending I wasn't hurting. Pretending the fame, the spotlight, and the cameras didn't take pieces of me every single day. And the truth is, I lost myself a long time ago." Imagine being his wife, sitting there, hearing this confession that he never had the courage to share face to face. Imagine realizing that the man you thought you knew, the man you built a life with, was silently drowning while smiling in public. That realization wasn't just heartbreaking. It was devastating. But Malcolm didn't stop there. He went deeper, exposing fears he never dared to share openly. He admitted that the pressure of being Malcolm-Jamal Warner, the icon, the child star, the actor who grew up under the watchful eyes of millions, left him fractured. "I was everyone's Malcolm," he said. "America's son. The good kid on TV. But I was never allowed to just be me." Those words struck his wife harder than any blow. Because for years, she had seen his quiet moments, the times he would sit in silence after a performance, the nights he'd wake up drenched in sweat from nightmares he never explained. She thought those were just the scars of fame. But now, watching him on the screen, she realized they were signs of a deeper storm he never wanted anyone to see. And then came the part that made her gasp, her body shaking with disbelief. Malcolm hinted at a choice he had made, a decision that had altered the course of his life forever. Though he never named names, his words suggested there were betrayals, hidden affairs, and secret alliances that the world never knew about. His eyes welled with tears as he admitted, "I wasn't faithful to my dreams, to my promises, maybe even to the people who trusted me the most." The camera captured everything, the shame in his eyes, the way his shoulders slumped as if the weight of years was pressing him down. It wasn't just a confession, it was a breakdown. His wife covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face as the video kept rolling. Every second was an emotional gut punch, peeling back layers of a man she thought she fully knew. The Malcolm she married was strong, confident, and composed. But the Malcolm in that video was fragile, broken, and desperately crying out for understanding. And then, almost like a cruel twist, Malcolm's tone shifted. He spoke of death, not in a morbid, casual way, but in a chillingly deliberate manner. "If you're watching this," he said, his voice suddenly calm, "then maybe I'm not here anymore. Maybe the truth caught up with me. Maybe the lies finally became too heavy. But I want you to know I loved you, even when I didn't show it the right way, even when I failed you, even when my demons kept me from being the man I promised I'd be." Those words shattered her, because in that moment, it didn't feel like a confession, it felt like a goodbye. A farewell he never said in person, but one he left behind like a haunting message in a bottle. The room around her seemed to close in. The silence between his words was deafening. It was as if the house itself absorbed the pain, echoing his secrets through the walls. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, to rewind time and force him to open up when he was alive. But now all she had was this video. But the devastation didn't stop with her, because soon after, this secret video leaked. Whether by accident or by intention, it found its way into the wrong hands, and the world saw a side of Malcolm they had never seen before. The headlines exploded. Malcolm-Jamal Warner's secret confession shocks Hollywood. Paparazzi swarmed his home. Fans who once celebrated his charm now debated his honesty. Was he a victim of fame, or a man hiding sins too great to admit while alive? For his wife, the leak was salt on an open wound. She had barely processed the truth herself, and now strangers dissected it on social media like gossip at a dinner table. Everyone had an opinion, everyone had a theory, but no one had the pain she carried. The pain of being the woman left behind, the one forced to piece together what was real and what was performance. The video didn't just expose secrets, it opened old wounds. Past relationships came forward, old friends whispered about what they knew, and Hollywood insiders claimed this was the Malcolm they always suspected. The world that once adored him now scrutinized every frame of his confession, searching for hidden meanings, searching for villains, searching for closure. But closure? That was something his wife feared she would never have. Because how do you move on from a man who left behind not just memories, but mysteries? How do you grieve when every answer brings 10 more questions? The truth is, this video became more than just a shocking revelation. It became a mirror, reflecting the cost of fame, the silent battles people fight behind closed doors, and the pain of secrets buried too long. His wife, though devastated, realized something important. This wasn't just a message for her. It was a message for everyone. A warning about the dangers of silence. A plea to speak the truth before it's too late. In her darkest moments, she replayed his final words again and again. Don't remember me for the lies I lived. Remember me for the man I wanted to be. And though her heart shattered with every replay, she knew one thing. This wasn't just her story anymore. It was the world's. Because Malcolm-Jamal Warner's secret video didn't just devastate his wife. It devastated all of us. If this story left you stunned, then trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this story about Malcolm-Jamal Warner is only the beginning of a much bigger conversation. Do you believe this secret video changes how the world will remember him? Let us know. And as always, stay tuned, because the truth never stays buried for long.